This is Arts Alive. I'm Linda Philippi, and we have a lot of guests today. First off, we have Brandy Palmblad, and she is playing Little Red Riding Hood. And we have Genevieve Linneberry, and she's playing Cinderella. And then we have over here Austin Ewing, and he's playing Jack.
Yep.
So welcome to all of you.
Thanks.
And this production is Into the Woods, which I guess is kind of like a fractured fairy tale or something?
It's a good way to describe
Okay.
it.
Kind of, yeah.
And it's opening at Gallery on September 9th.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe because I'm not familiar with it, maybe you want to talk a little bit about it, what it's about, and...
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it takes Grimm's fairy tales, so Cinderella and Jack and the Beanstalk, Little Red Riding Hood, and Rapunzel, and weaves them together through the characters of the baker and his wife via the witch character. And they have to break a curse that has been placed on their family by helping this witch make a potion. So the witch sends them into the woods to collect different items from the other fairy tale characters to make this potion.
Okay. And so, I mean, are you all pretty true to form, like the classic characters that we know from?
In Act 1, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then things get a bit twisted.
A lot
Yeah.
twisted.
So Act 1 ends with happily ever afters for everyone, and then Act 2 is not so happily ever after.
Okay. So Genevieve, you want to talk maybe a little bit about your character, Cinderella?
Well, Cinderella is pretty true to form in the first act, as Brandy said. But she, I think, out of some of the characters, has a more dynamic character shift. She sort of learns that what you wish for is not always what you really want. She has a whole line about, wanting a ball is not wanting a prince. And obviously she ends up with the prince in the first act. But by the end of the second act, she has, I think, a much different perspective on life. And so that's really been fun to try to convey.
Okay, that's good. Had you heard of this play before you auditioned?
I had heard of it. I actually probably was one of the only few people who had only seen it once or twice. I think everybody else was a little more excited.
Okay.
But, I mean, now I absolutely love it, of course.
So is it considered a comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a musical theater. It's comedy.
Oh, so it's a
Yeah.
musical.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yes.
And you all sing then.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
How fun.
A
And
lot.
what about you?
I sing as well. This is one of my first productions I've been in where I have a whole solo song. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, I get to work with that. I play Jack, and so he also goes through a pretty drastic change from the first act to the second act.
Jack, like Jack and the Beanstalk.
Jack and the Beanstalk,
Do you get
yes.
to climb the beanstalk on
I
the stage?
I do not get to climb on the stage. Where we have it placed, it's up in the audience. So it's a big
kind of like a
surprise
ropes
there.
course.
Sort of, yeah.
Hand over hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a workout for you as well.
It's a big shift because I'm playing someone who, though he's older, around 19, he has the characteristics of an 11-year-old, and so I have to sort of switch from my usual posture, which is just upright and just a regular teenager, down to jumping around and more adventurous 11-year-old.
Like a little
So,
kid, yeah.
yes.
And I understand that you probably, of this group here, are the veteran on the gallery stage.
Yeah, me and RJ Carey, who is also in the show. RJ was in the very first show that I was in, which was The Music Man back in 2004. And
Gosh, has it been that long?
yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And so I've just been switching through different productions and seeing what I can do to help around the theater, on and off stage, and yeah, just trying to be a gallery theater community member more than just a regular actor there.
So what
as well.
what are some of the other roles that you've done there?
Other roles that I've played, in Magic Theater, which was a sort of a different genre that I played before, was we were all sort of like the Wiggles. We were the McMinnville Wiggles. We all had a specific color, and we had no props, no set. We had about 4 colored boxes, and that was it. And it was my first production working in an environment that's not set, that doesn't have a setting. And it would switch so rapidly with your imagination and the imagination of the audience.
Oh, how fun. So kind of improv then.
Yeah, it was more like that, but it was
okay.
definitely targeted at children. And we had just 4 shows for that, and 2 during one day of Turkey Rama, and then 2 the other day, and then we were done
Wow.
for the rest of that show. But it was definitely a lot of fun.
Oh, that's
I
great.
met a lot of great people in that production.
So is this, do you feel like this is the most fun production you've been in so far?
Yeah, definitely.
You have to say that, don't you? With your 2 ladies right here.
Yeah. I've met a lot of new people who I haven't seen around the gallery stage.
Okay.
Because I haven't branched out to different theaters, which is something I want to start working with.
Sure.
But Lance Nutman, who plays the baker, he's over at Pinnacle a lot, and he finished Rent down there at the end of this year. And he auditioned for this show, and he's in it as well. And he's someone who's new to the gallery stage, but I mean, I haven't seen him there, but it's cool to sort of meet these new people here, as well as Genevieve and Brandy, who I've never seen before or worked with them on the gallery stage.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a big new cast who I haven't
I think that's great.
exactly worked with. So it's a big switch besides the regular usuals at gallery.
You know, it's kind of funny because I remember at one point in probably the early 90s, we were at the theater, and my husband said, "Is that lady in every single play that gallery ever does?" And I said, "You know, maybe." But at one point, I think, you know, it was kind of a situation where they just didn't have a lot of people to choose from. I mean, I think it comes and goes. And now one of the things I've noticed, on every production, there are usually, you know, at least 1 or 2 and sometimes more people who are new to gallery, or, you know, that you don't see a whole lot. I think that's great. Nice to bring in new blood.
Definitely.
So this is your first production at gallery?
Yes.
Okay. And where have you acted previously?
Well, I grew up in Colton, so I grew up, my whole family did community theater growing
how
up. So
fun.
we did Malala Community Theater, which actually doesn't exist anymore. It's
Okay,
sad.
what happened?
It's a lot of little
Yeah,
things
okay.
happened, and it just kind of culminated that it just didn't have a way to keep going.
Okay.
So maybe someday something will come back, but yeah, so grew up doing every aspect of theater, like what Austin is doing with gallery, from the sets and the costumes and everything. And then I actually went to school in New York for musical theater, and just moved back to, she's smirking at me, just moved back, when was it, 2 years ago? And did a couple shows in Boring with Nuts and Bolts Theater, and just recently did a play with Compass Repertory in Portland.
Okay.
That was so much fun. So now I'm here doing a musical again.
You know, Brandy, maybe he really wasn't smirking. Maybe he was just in awe of your vast talent.
No, he was smirking at me.
Oh.
He was totally smirking at me.
No.
Their characters argue a lot in the
Yeah.
show.
Oh,
do
so
they?
Yes.
They have
A
that
lot
same
of-
chemistry off
Yeah.
stage.
And what about you? Now, I heard you just say a few minutes ago that you were in Carousel.
Yes, that was my first production with gallery, and it was actually, I'm a student at Linfield College, so Linfield Opera Theater every few years teams up with gallery theater, and I was exposed to gallery that way, and then this production was something I was interested in because Into the Woods is sort of a show that I think everybody kind of wants to do because it's Stephen Sondheim, who's a very challenging composer, and so it's really nice to be able to say, I worked on a Sondheim show. So for that reason alone, I was interested. And then it just so happened that one of my teachers at Linfield College became the director, and so then I was
Okay.
really interested in auditioning
Sure.
because I knew she probably wouldn't like it if I didn't. So
Are you a theater major?
I'm actually a music major.
Okay.
So yeah,
Vocal performance?
vocal performance, yes.
So I get, when they were talking about this show, I guess I didn't realize, I should have figured Stephen Sondheim, I didn't realize it was a musical. So every now and then the characters just stop and burst into song?
Actually, this show is closer to an operetta. So most of the action is sung.
Okay.
So unlike like your average musical, yeah, it's kind of like you reach a point and then, oh, we're singing. But this show is like the whole introduction of the show is about 11 minutes long, and it's one long song.
Oh,
so
how
all of the
fun.
exposition is done through this song, and it's amazing.
Do you find that it's easier to learn your lines when it's a song? Yes, right?
Yes and
Different.
no.
It's well, for me, I mean, everybody learns differently. For me, it's just a different way of learning.
Yeah, I think part of the problem with the Sondheim, of course, is that everything happens on strange beats and different rests. So even though you may know the words, you have no idea where they're really going.
Yeah.
So probably, the rehearsals have got to be challenging, but also fun. Now, will you have a full orchestra for this, or is it a tape?
No, we have a band.
band.
I
A band,
guess.
but
Yeah.
you have live musicians, I
Yes.
guess is what I
Yes.
meant. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
actually written in the script that
In
we
the
can,
contract.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
the contract for the script that we cannot have recording. It must be a live band
Oh,
in order
God
to
bless
put on
Stephen
the show.
Sondheim.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay.
So,
So that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
It adds so
Yeah.
much to a performance when it is
It
live.
really does.
And especially with this show, it's there. If you don't have that sort of live feel, it's not the same.
And there's musical interaction that is so important with the band cueing off of us and us cueing off
That-
of them.
right.
That it would really be impossible to do this show with canned
Oh,
music
yeah.
because so much of the action is underscored by music. Even when we're not singing, there's still music going on while we're talking, and it's
Underneath
such an
us.
integral part of the whole show.
Oh, I'm so excited for this.
Yeah.
Now, with the auditions, were there lots and lots of people who tried out? Was the competition pretty stiff?
I think there were
I think
a
there
lot
were
of
quite
people.
a few. I mean, there were a lot of people at the callbacks. There were at least 5 people per role
Oh,
that
really?
were called
Okay,
back,
well, that's
except for
good.
the baritone.
True.
Because they're
Each
because
one of
they're,
them got a part.
because
so.
there are not that many baritones
Right.
out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can always be assured.
And I
Yeah.
know that there were some people that came in and out and weren't called back. So I would assume that there were a lot of people who auditioned.
Well, yeah, there were. Yeah.
Well, that's great. So, obviously there were a lot of people to choose from, so that's a good thing.
So
that-
we're the lucky ones.
or you're the ones who are maybe the most talented,
Well,
the most fabulous for the roles.
there's that.
Now, I heard you talking about that you were working on the Big Bad Wolf costume. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, even just today, I was gluing hair onto a wolf mask that our big bad wolf will have. I had to mold plaster to his face, and then just continued to work off of that until I got the look that was sort of correct, and to the director's vision and the costumer's vision and everything, and still had to make sure that it'd be able to fit to his face and he'd be able to work around it.
And
Breathe.
sing.
So,
Right?
yes.
Yes.
So,
He has to sing
and
out
dance.
through his little.
So he's, it's been a long process with this mask, about a week and a half, just fitting it on him every day and, making sure that it's still okay for him to work around. And painting it, I painted it yesterday, gluing hair on it today.
So that's why you were home all
and
day.
Yes.
You were just like stuck at home.
Yeah.
It wasn't playing video games. It was
No,
working on this mask.
No, it was
PB
not.